We are back for episode 38 of the Auld Triangle. As always, Andy Stevenson, Caoilte Barra with me today. Going to talk about all the latest and greatest news in Irish mixed martial arts. A busy time as always, domestically, internationally. We've got fighters fighting in Bellator. We'll talk about James Gallagher's fight. Ian Garry has a new opponent. We had big wins for guys that we've taken in and adore now in Irish mixed martial arts. Johnny Walker, Brad Katona have some news as well. We're going to cover that, cover a couple of the domestic scene, Virtus MMA, Cage Legacy coming up, Akumia coming up, lots and lots of good fights. And of course, Nathan Kelly joins us ahead of his PFL fight this Friday coming over in Madison Square Garden, and Gary Rooney speaks to us a little bit later on in the podcast about his move to professional mixed martial arts. Very exciting time for him and for Irish MMA in general. Lads, what's the crack? I'll go to Andy first. Are you keeping well? Any crack with you?
Fantastic, Ian. Fantastic. Great to be here chatting to you. And it's a bit of a down week or a couple of weeks for Irish MMA. I feel like it's been non-stop this summer, but we've got a bit of we don't really have a lull because we've got Nathan Kelly this week, but there's slightly less to talk about maybe. So, you know, it might not be 2.5 hours.
In comparison to last week, we had an absolute Trojan amount of news to get through. And I mean, look, we're very lucky. There's always something to talk about on the Irish mixed martial arts scene. And we won't be short of things to say in this one as well. But I definitely think it will not be as long as last week's, the last episode. We had episode 37.
Famous last words.
Yeah, we watch us go on now for about an hour and a half. Caoilte, are you keeping well? How's things in your neck of the woods?
All good now. A few issues today getting back in time, but we got there in the end.
You'll see in the Nathan Kelly interview. Yeah, thanks for turning up on time for our section of the podcast. I know Nathan thought you didn't like them. You know, you missed the last time he was on. We almost missed this
almost
time.
Got fired. Like,
it was almost Nathan Kelly in and Caoilte Barra out there. Big moving and shaking behind the scenes. But look, talking about moving and shaking, lads, a bit of moving and shaking in Ian Garry's world recently. Obviously, news broke a couple of days ago. Jeff Neal is out of the UFC Boston card. He was set to take on Ian Garry in the welterweight division. And Neil Magny is the guy who's stepping in. It's the guy that Ian Garry called for first after his last win over Daniel Rodriguez. It's a fight that we were calling for and looking for. It's an interesting stylistic matchup. It's a different matchup than probably would have been delivered in the Jeff Neal kind of fight. And it's exciting. It's great to see Ian is still there, still in the mix, still able to compete on that card. And credit to him because, you know, the talk will be Neil Magny taking the fight on short notice, and all credit to him. We'll talk about Neil Magny in just a minute, but credit to Ian Garry too. Didn't pull out, doesn't care about the change of opponent, took it all in his stride, and now we have Neil Magny versus Ian Garry in just a couple of weeks on that Boston card. And, you know, it's an interesting matchup. Maybe I'll go to Caoilte first to talk about the matchup, and Neil will bring in a kind of a different game plan into this. And, you know, where we probably would have thought Caoilte we'd see a lot of striking and a bit of a stand-up battle with Jeff Neal, you know, Neil Magny will bring in that level of well-roundedness. Not saying that Jeff Neal is not well-rounded, but definitely leaning more towards the grappling side of things if we're to go anything off of Neil Magny's previous performances here. So we may even see a new wrinkle in Ian's game here if he is challenged with a couple of takedown attempts.
That's it. Like, it's actually a fight that I think a lot of us have been asking for so long, and I think it was looking after he was booked against Jeff Neal. It was looking like that we weren't going to actually get that fight, and then it just kind of falls all into place like it was meant to happen. And I guess you could look at Neil Magny. He's kind of a gatekeeper to that upper echelon of the division, where if you want to be one at the top, you got to get through him. And he's, as I say, so well-rounded. He's so experienced, but on the ground, he's exceptional. We've seen it so many times. And not to mention, like, Neil Magny is a win over Jeff Neal as well. So yeah, might even be a tougher matchup, but I think it's great. Fair play to Ian for taking it as well. I'm hoping we get to see some of that grappling and see some of those exchanges and see what Ian got to learn while he was over in Brazil as well. I think that would be brilliant, but a fantastic fight. Delighted he's still on the card. Do you know that? That's the main thing.
Yeah, that would have been a huge blow, Andy, if he wasn't going to be able to compete at all. I mean, maybe it's a blessing that the pullout happened and it gave us enough time to kind of get Neil Magny in as a replacement. And I mean, you have to give all the credit in the world to Neil Magny here as well, who never shies away from this kind of level of competition, always seems to be picking up fights at short notice. I know he came in and fought Shavkat Rakhmonov.
He always gets the shit stick, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's a legend.
Let's call a spade a spade here. He gets a raw deal.
But he takes it all in his stride as well. I mean,
he welcomes it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like, I think we need to appreciate guys like Neil Magny a little bit more. And obviously, I'm sure, Ian will be throwing down with him, but I can guarantee you deep down he'll be giving Neil Magny his plaudits after the fight, no matter how it goes. But like I said to Caoilte, Andy, maybe a slight difference in maybe preparation and game planning for what Neil Magny is going to bring to the table here for Ian Garry. But I think what Caoilte was saying, what I'm kind of thinking, and I'm sure you're the same as well, is that maybe we will get to see a little bit of the grappling of Ian Garry. We've seen it before. I don't think the larger audience have seen it or maybe realize how good and well-rounded Ian Garry is. And I think a fight like this may draw out some of those skills that he has acquired over the last couple of years as well. Obviously, we've seen him grapple heavy against Jack Grant in Cage Warriors for the title. Obviously, Caoilte mentioned he went over to Brazil and has been doing some camp work over there ahead of this fight too. So this might be the perfect complement to face off against an opponent such as Neil Magny coming in here on August 19th or 20th, whenever that fight is on.
Yeah, I certainly think it'll be a lot more likely that we'll see his grappling here against Neil Magny. Looking at the Jeff Neal matchup, I think it was interesting. Like we had been kind of calling for like a Neil Magny for a long time. When it changed, I was a little bit like, oh, okay, because I actually think that the Jeff Neal matchup would have been a more explosive and exciting one. Like when you look at the Daniel Rodriguez matchup, I see Jeff Neal as a better version of Daniel Rodriguez with kind of more potency in his hands and things like that. And I thought that would play really well into Ian's style, and we'd probably see a highlight reel knockout. To be honest, I was confident in that for Ian going in here against Neil Magny. I definitely think it's a different fight. I think it's I think Neil is very versatile, very well rounded, but he's not the elite of the elite in any specific discipline. He just kind of puts it together really well. And he's never been one who's kind of pushing top 5. He's always been in the rankings, as you mentioned, kind of a gatekeeper, like a without a negative connotation on it, like a gatekeeper to the elite of the elite. And I think that he'll probably force Ian to grapple at times. But again, I'm still quite confident in here, to be honest. Like I think Ian's going to win here and get the job done, and I don't really have too many doubts about that.
Yeah, I mean, like Ian could come in and approach this fight and maybe just stop the takedown attempts, because I would say that there is a huge skill advantage for Ian, in my opinion, on the feet. And Neil Magny does want to go in there. What we're going to get with Neil Magny is we know that he's going to show up. We know that he's going to be in your face. We know that he's going to be putting pressure on you all the time. And he's going to have that veteran savvy going in there as well. And those are all good tests for Ian Garry at this stage of his career. And I think he would have got similar tests against Jeff Neal as well, where I wouldn't imagine Ian Garry is focusing too much on changing up all that much with his game plan, but it'll be interesting to see how he deals with probably Neil Magny's forward pressure coming in here and Neil Magny's grappling. He's going to be wanting to push Ian up against the fence and try to take him down and try and win ugly, and you can't blame him for that. That's his style. That's what he needs to do, and it'll be very interesting to see how it gets on. Like I said, we had that extra little bit of spice surrounding the Jeff Neal fight with the T-shirt and everything like that. I know the T-shirt definitely worked. I mean, whatever you think about it, I'm not mad at it. It's like, whatever. It is what it is. You created some buzz for the hype, for the fight, I mean, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure where we go from here, if that fight is going to happen again, because if you're Ian Garry, Andy, I don't think that you're going to be maybe too forthcoming and welcoming a Jeff Neal fight if you're not sure if he's going to be able to make it to the dance.
Yeah, maybe. Although I guess it depends on the rank. Like the vibe that, or kind of what Ian has been expressing the last while, is that he's looking up. Like he's only looking up in the rankings. And the downside for him of kind of getting the Magny fight now is Magny's ranked number 11, and I think Neal was 8. So it'd be interesting to see where, if Ian does come through Neil Magny, where will he fall in the rankings number-wise, and will Jeff Neal still be ahead of him? But
I wouldn't be surprised if that was manufactured, that Ian Garry maybe takes up the spot of Jeff Neal there. I mean, rankings are rankings. Yeah. Like, I mean, I've seen stranger things happen. Like, I mean, Ian is picking up wins. You never know what someone like however those rankings work. I definitely see the value in what you're saying, but it's like, no matter for Ian at this stage, it doesn't really matter.
I'm not sure.
It doesn't really matter, really, doesn't it? Not?
What I would love to see is, all things going well for Ian Machado Garry, is you get a win here over Neil Magny, you fight someone else in the rankings in the end of the year, and then
Wonder Boy.
Hopefully we get a Dublin card next year. So it's more of like it's a timing thing, a scheduling thing for me more so. Like obviously you approach each fight, but like looking long term, like if you want Ian as a headlining act in Dublin, you want him to keep winning en route to that, and then put him in the spot where he's not quite fighting for a title yet, but he's a fight off, 2 fights off. So
it's
Wonder Boy, I'd love that fight.
We're talking about, like, Harry and I do the UFC previews, and this weekend it's like Rafael dos Anjos or last weekend it was, when the time this will come out, it was Rafael dos Anjos and Vicente Luque, and there's no real jeopardy in that kind of fight. It's like, I think UFC are trying to create an avenue where you have a little bit of jeopardy that they may be able to bring over for the main event in the Dublin card. So if you're thinking about Ian coming in there, winning the Magny fight, maybe fighting once more before the end of the year or the start of next year, and if you get 2 wins there, man, you're talking about maybe top 5 competition in the welterweight division.
Could we get Ian Garry versus Colby Covington main event UFC Dublin?
Man, I don't know.
Could you imagine?
It's a shit ton.
They'll hardly utilize. I don't think they'll utilize Cody
for a golf course,
a fight night card. But I mean, it's a fight that could happen. I think Colby Covington has eyes on the welterweight title right now, and rightly so as well. But like, I mean, you're looking at a Wonder Boy fight, maybe a Shavkat Rakhmonov fight, where you have a kind of a up-and-coming guy and an up-and-coming guy. It'd be interesting to see. Like, it's a very, very interesting time. I mean, obviously you have to get this fight. We don't want to speak too out of turn. He has to go in there, get the job done, and stay injury-free and healthy as well. And then we can maybe talk about it in another couple of weeks if he does get the job done. But very exciting times, like I said.
He could be fighting Kevin Holland for the honour of his manager soon enough.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah, some dodgy comments made there, some highlights on that as well. But it's all happening in the world for Ian Garry. And look, I'm just glad he's on that card. I'm glad we figured something out, and we can break that down obviously after it happens as well. Let's move along to Bellator. And James Gallagher returned after a 2-year layoff last Friday night against James Gonzalez, picked up a split decision win. Caoilte, it was great to see James back. Look, after such a long layoff, he spoke with you, Andy, ahead of the fight. He was on with us, obviously, in the past, before his last fight, Fallout. But, I mean, I think for James, and based off his reaction on the win, it's just a relief off his shoulders now, Caoilte, to be able to go back in there and compete and get a win under his belt.
Yeah, Jimmy Show's back, and hopefully he can kind of keep a bit of momentum there and get more fights in the back of it. The relief, I imagine, after all that time off and not being able to compete, it's just or not competing, was just incredible. It must have been a massive relief for him, and to get the result up a weight division. I think he's been undefeated at featherweight as well, isn't he?
That's 8-0 now, I believe it is, for him at featherweight. Yeah,
so it could line up a nice fight for him next as well, and great to see him. I'd love to see him on the Dublin card, but I think we might be hitting and hoping there maybe in February or something. But
good, if he wants to be active, like it'd be, it is.
It would. I kind of had thoughts about that. Yeah, I had thoughts about that, but if it was maybe in and a clean, quick finish, he might have maybe thought about it. But look, we went 3 rounds. The fight went to a split decision. I'll take you through. Fight opened up. A little bit of an exchange on the feet. James Gonzalez kind of connected and looked to have hurt James a little bit with a spinning attack. James closed the distance, took the fight down, was in pretty much top position for maybe 4 minutes of round 1, landing some shots. Gonzalez himself landing some good shots off his back as well, which do score on the judges' scorecard. And that was kind of the ins and outs. A good flurry at the end of the round for James, probably in my eyes won him the round or put the seal on the deal for the round for me. Round 2 was pretty similar, a little bit of striking on the feet, James closed the distance, takedown again, top control for 4 minutes almost in that round. We had a much more active James Gonzalez in round 2, and arguably, and I believe one of the judges did score that round for him. And you can see that as well. You know, with James, it was just that little bit of struggle to get off some attack in the guard of Gonzalez or in top control as well. For me, did just about enough, even though James Gonzalez did threaten up with arm bars and other stuff and land some good shots. But I think, you know, James kind of neutralized those attempts, got some shots off on his own, and in a really, really close round 2, I leaned that to James as well. So I had James Gonzalez having to get the finish in round 3. He didn't get the finish in round 3, but definitely went out and won a clear round. Probably the clearest round of the fight. So, you know, it was a close fight. I think James acknowledged that it was a close fight. James Gonzalez, a tough opponent to come back to. And, you know, it leaves the questions in maybe James wasn't as able to assert himself as more up in weight division with maybe a strength disadvantage than he would have maybe at 135 pounds. I mean, that's pure speculation on my part. Andy, after hearing the kind of overall landscape of the fight, what are your thoughts on the performance itself and the result of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, like, James himself was disparaging in the post-fight interview of his performance. He labeled it himself as sloppy. Now, I don't think it was necessarily a sloppy performance, but I just felt that, look, you're coming back in here after a slew of injuries, haven't fought since November 2021. He probably needed 15 minutes in there. Like when he was talking to me before, and he was saying how he didn't want to just go in and like hurt somebody. He wanted to just experience it all. And it would probably help him now. It's not the type of performance that's going to blow people away. And I thought that at times, you know, with the new scoring criteria, you're looking at very dominant positions where there's not an offense coming off the back of it, you know, where you've got kind of 4 minutes of control, and I scored round 2 for him, but it opens up an opportunity for Gonzalez to kind of steal the round from throwing shots from the bottom, because he was very active. And it's the type of thing where, you know, had there been a bit more activity, it would have been an absolute domination, clear round, whereas you're kind of leaving itself a little bit open. But at the end of the day, he's back in there. He's got to win. And really, for me, coming into this one, it was just, I just wanted to see James Gallagher fighting. Like, we haven't 100%. Seen, there's been so many fight cancellations, and it's something to build off of. But yeah, look, it wasn't the greatest performance in the world, but I don't think it was.
And that's it. Look, we'll acknowledge the performance, but I think in this kind of scenario, in this setting, and given that James had such a long layoff, I think Caoilte, the most important thing for him was to go in there, get the job done, and he achieved that just by split decision. And I agreed with the call. You know, I wouldn't have argued too much if it went the other way, perhaps, but I mean, as opposed to what James Gallagher wanted to do, he went in there, Caoilte got the job done, and you know, you kind of mentioned what you'd like to maybe see next. The Dublin card might be a little bit too soon. For you, is it another fight at featherweight? Would you like to see him back down at bantamweight? What would you like to see next?
Actually, so before the fight, I was a bit curious as to what he'd be back at featherweight. I thought he looked okay. I thought his wrestling was quite positive. I thought he really kind of looked a lot better in the wrestling department. His grappling's always been incredible, but his wrestling seemed to go up a level. I thought his striking went up a level last time at bantamweight, so it'll be interesting to see now that he's got that fight back if he can put on the best James Gallagher possible, and we could in his next fight, and then we could see an absolutely incredible performance. And be it at featherweight, potentially, I think he doesn't look outsized one bit. I think he fits the division. He's undefeated there, as we said. So maybe featherweight next could open up a few opportunities if he gets another win there as well. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I have no problem. I just want to see him active, really, as opposed to caring about the weight class, to be honest.
That's it, and I'd say that's probably what's on his kind of mind as well. It'll be interesting to see what is next for James Gallagher. But it's good to see him back. Good to see him back in the win column, and very, very good.
Do you know what I liked as well? I liked that he just like played into the crowd booing him because he keeps getting booed.
He was always going to do that.
Just like, yeah, come on, give it to me. Like, what are you going to do?
I love it.
Yeah. There's
going full heel.
He's going to get a few more detractors for that one.
You could see that. You could still hear the Irish support over there. It was a nice during the fight to hear the faint olays.
Did he change his walkout tune?
I think so, yeah.
I was like, what is going on here?
And I tried to listen to his post-fight interview on the BBC iPlayer because Bellator over in Canada, they tried to charge me $20 for a stream that freezes every 2 minutes. So I had to find other means. It's like, come on here. What are we doing here? Don't get me started on that, boys. Don't get me started on that.
Maybe it's new beginnings, though, because, banked out on the shorts. Maybe a new gym, new music too.
That's it. Like, I come from that interview as well. He's wanting to focus his attention on moving his camps over to Thailand and immersing himself there. Look, we talked to Nathan Kelly about that in a little while as well, about his move over there. It's a good place to train. It's a good opportunity for him to kind of engross and get into a good Muay Thai style and that he might be able to mix up into his overall game as well. So onwards and upwards for James Gallagher. Like I said, good to see him in there getting the win, and we look forward to seeing him again. We shall move on, Caoilte. I'll move over to you. We'll talk a little bit about the IMMAF Youth Championships, which took place recently. The Irish squad went over and did very well. Look, there's been a couple of questions surrounding the child safeguarding around the tournament. A couple of videos that came out that were pretty disturbing, to be honest. But we wanted to say that we will talk about that again. We are going to work towards speaking with somebody at IMMA just to kind of get their perspective on what they thought around the child safeguarding. We don't want to focus too much on the negative. We're not going to take it away from any of the athletes or any of the coaches and the team that went over there and competed. It's not their fault. They can't control those things. We will discuss those things on the next episode, hopefully, fingers crossed, if things go well. Today, what we're going to focus on is the positive side of things. And Caoilte, the Irish team went over there, cleaned up with loads of gold medals, bronze medalists. They've just missed out on reaching top 5 in the tournament itself. But it was a very, very, I know you have your opinions on that as well.
The nationalists are coming out.
Oh, Jesus.
But let's talk about the tournament and some of the standout performances over there. And we want to say congratulations to the team for going over there, competing, some great performances, bringing home some gold medals. Congratulations to Danny and the rest of the coaching team as well on what they achieved over there. Give us a quick run through on who took home all the medals for the youth championships, Caoilte.
For sure. Like, this is a team that no government funding whatsoever. They're all self-funded through sponsors and so on and so forth. And they go over, and I would say from seeing the IMMAF scene and seeing the youth scene, that probably this Irish setup is one of the best around. And as I said, the results speak for themselves. But for the medalists, you have to give them all a good shout out. In Youth C, for gold, we had Roman Verhoeven, and he put himself into contendership for the Auld Triangle choke of the year with that lovely choke
good performance. Final.
Yeah, he really stole the show, I think, for that day. And so fair play to Roman. With Caden Dalton got gold as well. Timothy Oland got gold in Youth C. Tyler Byrne, bronze. Kayla Gilhooly, bronze. And Dylan Wheatley, bronze. And that rounds up the kind of day one Youth C medalists. That'd be the age group of 12 to 13. And on to the Youth B, where there was another gold. In the Youth B's, Katie Power won gold. Charlie Connolly won bronze. Olivia Babiyars, excuse me if I butchered that name, won bronze, and Leon Gallagher won bronze in Youth B. And then on the final day, or the final 2 days in the Youth A brackets, Alison Siren won bronze, Kevin Walsh won bronze, Kieran Sheehan won bronze, and 3 bronzes there. Yeah, and that should round up the youth medalists for the Irish team. Do I give my rant about what IMMAF did?
Go for it, Caoilte. Let it loose.
Feck it. No. It was the youth team were incredible, but I had a gripe with this. Ireland were robbed from a top 5 spot, I'm pretty sure here now. If you look at the results in the medal table, Ireland did not finish in the top 5, but they should have. So Northern Ireland was put there, but they all fight under the IMMA banner. But just put it all under IMMA.
A little bit of unity, but credit to everybody involved. Go ahead.
No, but I only asked. But you know what I mean by the how before it was meant to be everyone fought under the one. Remember that announcement came out back a while back.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. I mean, but anyway, it's only
because it showed 3 gold, 9 bronze on, but it's actually 4 gold, 9 bronze.
That was it,
yeah. So that's brilliant. Like it's amazing to see Ireland go out and do well, and a fair play to Danny McCormick and Alan and the rest of the team that are out there, because like giving up their time and focus, and especially when Danny McCormick's a professional world champion in Invicta, and like has her own training to be focused on her own career and to put the time. So I think that's brilliant.
It's brilliant, yeah.
And like I don't know, I with this stuff, like I don't know how to approach these things, to be honest, as like a media member or whatever, because you're like, these are kids going out and like you want to give them their flowers and praise, but you also don't want to put too much of a spotlight on them because like they're kids. But it's I thought it was brilliant to see how happy. Like I remember watching that young lad Roman, and he just looked so comfortable and happy and like buzzing. And like I thought, just the confidence that these kids were showing was incredible. And like for me, looking at this, if that's what it should be about at the end of the day, going out there and having fun. And if they pick up a few medals and win, and of course all that's important in sport. But it was great to see. And so fair play to them all for going out there, and any of them that went out, and even the ones who didn't win. Like fair play just for going out and putting yourselves out there and competing. And look, you don't win everything, so. Like whatever, some won medals, some didn't. Fair play to all.
100%, and to do it without any backing from the government, without any financial backing. They raise the funds themselves, they pay for their own trip out, and they go out and compete. So it's a delight. It's a delight to see a little bit of positive feedback in bringing some medals home. But look at it, everyone is going out there and representing their country, and whether you take home a medal or not, you should be very proud that not every day you get the chance to represent your country. And they're being led by Danny and Alan and the rest of the crew there, and everyone is doing a fantastic job, and credit to them. And just to reiterate what we said at the start of the segment, there is some other conversations that we will have around that. Now is not the time. We're not taking it away from the squad or the coaches who went over there and did their thing. We will revisit that. It's a conversation that we need to have, so we can guarantee you that we're going to highlight some other things in regarding IMMAF and where IMMAF are at as an organization overall in the coming weeks on the Auld Triangle. We'll promise you that as well. So moving on, guys, good Andy Taz-Young, we talked about him towards the end of the last episode, and went over to Fight Star Championships, and unfortunately for him was on the receiving end of a knockout loss on his return. Look at it's tough to see. Went out there and fought on enemy territory, had a tough challenge. Muhaddin Abubakar is a serious cat. Did
not take an easy fight coming back. Jesus.
No, it's like you're fair play to Andy. You have to give him all the credit in the world. Who he could have taken a fight anywhere, chose this fight, didn't go his way. Hopefully that's not the last we see of him, but it was a tough knockout. We wish him the best. We hope he's recovering well. And, even for Andy to get back after all the trials and tribulations and, the injuries and everything like that, it was a credit for him that he found the drive and motivation to get himself back in there. And hopefully we get to see him. It'd be great to see him compete in a professional fight, maybe on the Cage Conflict or Cage Legacy or something like that. But it'd be interesting to see how that works out. Try to get back into the will column and see how it goes from there. Obviously, wasn't his night when he lost by a knockout to Muhaddin Abubakar at Fight Star Championships. And once again, we wish him the best. Honorary Irishmen, we'll move on to now, and Brad Katona, who performed absolutely fantastically against Timur Valiev, a fight that took place in the tough household that should have been worthy of taking place in the UFC on any card. Brad Katona opened up a nasty cut from an elbow on his head, on his forehead, and Jesus, lads, was pumping blood. I've never seen an amount of blood in a cage for a long time, but stayed true. Mixed up his striking and grappling, and deservingly so. After 3 rounds, we went to sudden victory, picked up the win in the final round, which sees him moving to the final. Look, we'll know at the time we're recording this, we don't know who's going to be there. It's either going to be Cody Gibson or that gentleman from Connor's team who will be facing him in the finals. I believe that's going to be happening on the Boston card, but I'm not too sure yet about that. There is 2 spots there.
I think it is
for the 2 finales, so we won't have to wait too long to see Brad in action there. But I mean, if anyone hasn't seen that episode, I'd really recommend go back and watch the episode, watch the build up, and watch the fight itself. I think that the production team did an excellent job in kind of building that and telling Brad's story, and now he has a chance to create history as well and become the 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner as well. So it's a fantastic story. Obviously, he came over from Winnipeg. He's been living in Ireland for many years now, and definitely deserves a mention on the Auld Triangle.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I fancy him to do the job as well in the final, but like, even if he doesn't, I think he should be in the UFC. Like, he's
100%.
done like since
he should be in the UFC anyway. I mean,
like the run he went at, was it? She's forgetting, it was a Brave. He was champion.
That's right.
Like he's been on an absolute tear for years now since parting ways. So he should be back in there as far as I'm concerned, regardless of whatever happens in the final. Big time.
Definitely a conversation we could have, and we have had before, about who deserves to be in the UFC, who doesn't, and it's a hot topic in Irish mixed martial arts right now as well. Everybody sign them up. Johnny Walker versus Magomed Ankalaev Caoilte has been announced as well. Obviously, Johnny Walker training out of SBG, right in the mix in the 205 division in UFC, and you would have to think a win over Ankalaev, who is as yet undefeated, would really kind of cement his place as the number 1 contender in the division. But it's a tough task he's facing against Magomed. He will take him on the Abu Dhabi card. I believe that's 294. I believe that card is on. Interesting matchup here.
Yeah. Do you know what? Probably his toughest fight to date, you could argue. And probably his biggest fight today. Could line him up for a title shot, as you mentioned. Huge opportunity for Shawnee Schuler to get into this one now and do well. So, I'm really excited. He's looked so good in leveling up in every single fight now, from the Paul Craig fight to the Anthony Smith one that was just pure domination. And then now he's the opportunity to go out there and take on Ankalaev, who, I think he's coming off a draw with Jan Blachowicz. Yeah, he is. So
that was a weird fight.
Yeah, for the title as well. So
but you win this one, you're fighting for a title, as far as I'm concerned.
100%, without a doubt. Like the way the way that kind of shaping up is, you'll probably have Yuri and Alex Pereira as the title fight, perhaps, and then you're going to have this one as number 1. Bit, right? Hill is gone. Like, you mean when you have a ruptured Achilles, that's a tough injury to come back from. So I don't think we're going to probably see Jamal Hill until probably around this time next year, for being honest, and once he rehabs it. But exciting times, credit to Johnny Walker. This is a career resurgence that kind of goes hand in hand with his move to SBG as well. So not a career resurgence, might be a hard kind of way of putting it, but his surge up the rankings and the way he's positioned himself has kind of come hand in hand with his move over to SBG, and his work with John Kavanagh and the rest of the team over there. Himself and Will Flory and Cara Moore are close and good training partners there as well. So in good company there, and it's good to see. Look, he's representing an Irish gym in SBG, and is as Irish as anyone. We don't take too much though, boys, to claim somebody.
No. And
I just definitely passes the test, hey.
I was there thinking, I wasn't making faces at your analysis there, and I was making faces trying to think, is there a way we can shoehorn this into getting Johnny Walker fighting for a title in Dublin also? Just get all the fights we want on a Dublin card.
Not the worst idea at all, in the slightest, and
could you
very interesting. Look at that.
Would be if that was the headliner.
That would be an interesting conversation if that was to go down. But look, great to see Johnny up there. Tough fight. Let's be real. But if he gets past Ankalaev, he could very well be fighting for a title next. Another guy on the rise from the SBG gym, we'll look ahead, is Nathan Kelly. He takes on Damon Nelson. That is this coming Friday, where he will fight in Madison Square Garden. It will be live on DAZN in UK and Ireland, on ESPN and ESPN Plus in the States. And let's move over. We'll chat to the man himself about that fight, about where he's at in PFL and his career, and a couple of good stories about Thailand as well. So I'll hand it over to myself for that Nathan Kelly interview. And now we can welcome back Nathan Kelly to the Auld Triangle podcast. Just a week out from his next PFL fight against Damian Nelson at the Mecca at Madison Square Garden. Nathan, thanks for joining us. 2 years to the day, you were competing, almost 2 years to the day, competing Clan Wars 41 in the Jim Brown Arena. And now, in just a week's time, you're going to the Mecca, Madison Square Garden in New York to compete for the PFL. That must be mad to kind of comprehend and take in.
Yeah, it is. It's a funny little story. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even mind. Like, I when I was thinking about it there the other day, I was like fucking thinking of how far I've come and stuff like that. And I was just saying to myself, like, that's something that, like, when you're a kid, you obviously you have these success stories and these, like, from nothing to something stories, like, and you think that'll one day beat me. And then it was just like, fuck, that actually is me now. You know what I mean? So now I'm like, what way do I approach it? But I've been still, like I said yesterday before I started, I was trying to keep as professional as I can, and like when I get the win, maybe then I'll reflect more and look back with more of a positive mind, because until then I don't want to run away with my thoughts and get too ahead of myself, because even though I am trying to live in the moment and take it all in, I still want to get that win and make sure that the win is guaranteed first before I really reel in the occasion that it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, although you're saying also before we got on that Franz Malambo is not letting anybody forget in the gym where you're fighting there as well. He's kind of been a cheerleader for you, hasn't he?
Yeah, like Franz, like, a few of the lads would be in like the gym, they're like, you fighting now? I was like, oh yeah, fighting next week or whatever like that. And they go, where? And I go, New York. And he go, come on, man, you fucking tell them where you're fighting. You're fighting at Madison Square Garden. Stop being humble and stuff like that. And then Friday they're gone. I finished the last session, and there was one of the lads just on the bikes. One of the lads who coaches in SBG, the gym coaches, and Franz comes over and was like, tell him where you're fighting. And I was like, New York. And he was like, would you fucking go out with that, will you? You're fighting at Madison Square Garden. He's like, stop being so humble and fucking take it all in. And I was like, all right. I goes, I'll be happy when I win. Then I'll go around boasting and telling everyone, yeah, I fought I won in Madison Square Garden. I don't want to just fight there. I want to win as well. You know what I mean? So when I win, I'm gonna be walking around fingerless like I'm the bleeding heir of the throne. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I said, like it's class. It really is. Like, and the last few weeks now, people have been mentioning it more to me, and they've been like just kind of putting it in my head. Oh, you're fighting Madison Square Garden, fighting Madison Square Garden, and I was thinking like, do I run away with it or not? And then I did a lot of self-reflecting, and looked how far I've come and seen like the pathway that I've been on over the last 2-3 years, and it actually is admirable considering the circumstances I was in, like before I came back fighting, and didn't see myself even going back training. You know what I mean? Never mind going back and putting the work in and getting an opportunity like this. So it is amazing. Like, but like I said, I'm gonna bleed and get the win first, and then when I have the pizza in my hand and I'm looking at this through the feeders or whatever like that, maybe then I'll really appreciate it. But until then, just focus on getting the win. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Last time we did see you out, it was against Zachary Hicks. That was for the PFL Challenger Series in last March. Another first-round finish, your third first-round finish in a row. You've got to be happy with that performance. What did you take away from that fight?
What I took away from it was... don't know if I took away much, being honest. I was just really calm. Sometimes I really hype myself up a lot before the fight to get myself into that like aggressive state of mind, whereas that one I was just really calm. See, it was like the Apex style thing. There was very like about 50-60 seats in it, no walkout music. It was like doing the IMMAFs, you know what I mean? You know, when you're backstage and you're walking, you walk first and then your opponent walks behind you. It was kind of like that, you know what I mean? So it was something I actually was familiar with, that type of feeling where it's not a big deal, no big stage, no nothing. So I was like fighting in the gym essentially. That's what it felt like to me. So if anything, I just felt really calm and relaxed. But I actually thought he was gonna. I knew he was gonna try to run away a little bit, which he did at the start. He was keeping the distance. I just thought he would have shot earlier. I thought he would have, like, instead of circling the cage and trying to get out, I thought he would have just went straight into for a double leg or a body lock or something like that. But yeah, no, he didn't, and I just like that. I just tracked him down, got him up again. He went for takedown then and reversed him. But when I was against the fence, I felt really, really strong. I felt like he wasn't as strong as me, or I don't know, maybe the pressure got to him, or he was breathing a little bit heavy as well. I mean, we didn't even really engage in any activity, so he was breathing really heavy early, and I was like, I heard him breathing in my ear. We are clinched body to body, and I was like, oh, I have you. I just knew that was it. He was cooked from there, because he was almost like he was panicking a little bit with the pressure. But got the takedown, passed proper textbook jiu-jitsu, passed the mount, head and arm. But yeah, I would put so much work into me striking for that fight, and I didn't even get to show it, you know what I mean? And I was like, I was coming out of it, and I was like I remember even talking to you, I was like, I'm going to KO him, I'm going to do this, going to do that. And like, I came out and I was just chilling there like with Dave, and I was just like, I don't know if I enjoyed that win as much, you know what I mean? And he was like, will you shut up, will you? He was like, will you shut up and get
a nice clean, like 2 minute sub, like, oh jeez, that wasn't great. No.
Yeah, people killing for the result like that, yeah.
I was saying to myself, I don't know if I enjoyed that win. It's a bit anticlimactic and all that jazz, but at the end of the day, we're not paid to be in there for any longer than we have to be. So I was really happy to get the win, get in no damage, and enjoy Florida for what it was. But yeah, no, really, really happy with it. And then obviously I won in such an impressive manner that it led for me to get this opportunity. And you can best believe they have to give me the ESPN main card slot again. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna perform on the night and show them that trusting in me to open the main card again, like I did in Cardiff. I'm gonna come out and try to light this fella up early, and just don't show no mercy from the start, and just let him fucking smother under the pressure. I don't think he's fought anyone like me, so I'm really interested to get in and give it me all.
100%. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's been interesting. Like, I think you mentioned there, like, you're on the main card again here, and I think we talked about this the last time you were on. Even like it seems that they're really kind of putting you in almost like showcase fights at the moment. You've had some phenomenal performances, and to be honest, you've looked levels above each time you've gone in. But I think it's clear that PFL are kind of prioritizing putting you out there. You know, getting you. You know, the right matchups where you can shine, but also in the right spots, and almost kind of building you to next season. Is that how, like, after having a couple of fights now in there, would you agree with that, or do you see it differently?
I think what you're saying is correct. Yeah, I think. See, I signed the 5-fight deal initially, and it was actually technically a developmental contract. So basically, fights that, like, obviously, if an opportunity came about where I could jump in to a pull out or whatever in the season, I would have got the opportunity, and I probably would have took it. But for now, I think they're just happy to, because like that, get me 5 fights done, see how I go. Like, all going accordingly to plan. I'll be on a 10-fight win streak by the end of the 5 fights, or by the end of the contract, and then that looks a bit. Obviously, I have more cage time. It looks a bit more impressive. So when I do go into the season, I'll have the experience and the cage time behind me, and ultimately get the wins and keep and more pony boys, just make a few quid for myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm actually happy that I went this route at the start. I wanted to get straight in and blah blah blah, but in hindsight now, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about my career. I'm thinking about me, and you know, like, putting food on me plate, so to speak. So like, I'm kind of happy with the approach they're giving me. They're not rushing me into anything. They're just happy to let me build up gradually, and when the opportunity comes, you best believe I'm going to take it. So we'll see what happens now after the end of the 5 fights, what they offer me, if they want to put me in the season or not. Ideally, in my head, I'd like to fight in Dublin in December in the finals. Then I'll have 1 fight left, maybe go back over, do the Challenger Series thing, win it, and then get the contract to go into the season. So that's kind of like the idea I have in my head now. I obviously just have to, you know, get in their ear a little bit when I get over there now on Monday, and just try like almost say it to them, put that idea in their head, and just make them think about it at least, and then just see what happens. But the only thing I can do now is the only thing I can control is just win each fight and see what opportunities come my way. So, but I'm still grateful for the opportunities they give me. Like, they could have stuck me on any show or whatever like that, but to go open the main card for Madison Square Garden, like, it's pretty much a big deal for me. So very grateful for the opportunities that they're giving me, and like that, because they're giving me these opportunities, I want to go out and perform, and I want to go out and like prove to them that look, investing your time into me, and I'm like putting this attention on me is going to be worthwhile, because I'm going to make sure to come out every single time and give me all.
100%. Like, the Zachary Hicks fight was a part of the Challenger series. I was watching along there. I thought you were hard done by that night not to get a contract with that. So what kind of happened there? It was put to a vote, and it was you and another fella who ended up winning. But I was actually talking to Sean Sheen about it. It was like, this is crazy, because it's on at about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Irish time. No, anyone from Ireland probably wouldn't have been watching maybe until the next day. Did you feel a little bit hard done by that you didn't get the contract that time, or do you feel it had kind of worked out for the better for you anyway?
I didn't feel hard done by it. I was telling everyone at home that I wasn't going to get it. I felt like he was going to, your man, they done a little promo for us to lead into the Challenger series. It was me and your man Brian Zorja, just us two. So it was obvious that we were the two main lads who they were trying to focus on. So I just felt, he got to the final the year before and didn't win it. And then I was like, it's only destined for him to go into this. And if you win, I've got according to the plan, if he wins, he's going to get the contract. So I was like telling all my family and my friends, I'm not going to win this. Even if no matter how well I win over here, I'm still not going to win this. Because of that, it was like 4 a.m. over here, all the US time, all his family and all were there, and they were all voting. And like, there was way more opportunities for him to win than me because of the time difference. And then the judges voted for him as well. So the snakes. But they're like, oh, Nathan Kelly's this, Nathan Kelly's that. Oh, we're gonna give it to the other fella though, yeah. So
sure, you can fight contract anyway. Sure,
yeah, that's what I did.
Does it really matter?
Regardless, like I think it's all just for fucking just for publicity or for the commercial side of it and stuff like that. Anyway, so like that's how I knew going over. Regardless if I win this or not, I still have 3 more fights, and I'm still gonna fight 3 more times before the end of next year anyway, so it makes no difference to me really.
That
so
makes sense.
That
makes sense. I was going to ask that. I was unsure. I thought you were just operating off a 1-fight contract and another 1-fight contract, but you already had the contract. That's the contract that you were mentioning at the start. That will be out hopefully at the end of the year for you if you're to compete on the Dublin show. Yeah,
I think I'll have 1 fight left by the first quarter of 2024. So like by like that March or April, around then I'll have my last fight and then try negotiate a new deal and see what they can do for me. But it's funny because your man Braga, who fought the same night, he's in the finals of the tournament now. He got a 1-fight deal in the Challenger series. He won, but like he didn't get picked in the final too. And then someone pulled out or whatever like that, and he got asked could he be a substitute to go in, and he said yeah, and now he's in the final. So
and the same thing happened. The same thing happened to Delaney O'Taylor last year as well, who went in and beat Rory MacDonald.
Yeah, but Taylor just went straight into that whereas your man Braga went into the season and got there by like winning all his fights. So like, you have to give fair play to the fucker. Like, he went in and took the opportunity and made it go his way. You know what I mean? So I respect him for that. Like, that's.
But then, so obviously not looking too far ahead. Like, is it like, are you looking? I was a bit confused there because you mentioned that you're looking to go back into the Challenger series, but like, to be honest, I'd be expecting you to be going in here and calling for, right, get me in that featherweight tournament next year. Like, there doesn't seem to be, and maybe they'll add one, but there doesn't seem to be a featherweight tournament for the European side. So like, are you eyeing up next season's full featherweight tournament, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, being honest with you. Although like fighting in Europe is great, but I think in a way, like, I think they did plan to do a featherweight tournament, and then I don't know whether they're just really impressed with me when I fought Ben Ellis, and they're just like, look, this is the guy we want to go into the season. I'm kind of like presuming that, you know what I mean? I'm presuming it, but I don't know if it's true or not. But I just was like, maybe they just thought I was somewhat decent enough to potentially go into the US one, and maybe that's why they didn't do the featherweight tournament, or what, I don't know. But that's what I'm presuming. But I want to get in Dublin, obviously fight in front of I fought I'm basically fighting all my opponents' backyards, so it'd be nice to get one in Dublin at least, and when they're there, like, and I'll sell a heap of tickets as well, so I'll make a lot of money for them. So it's in their best interest and my best interest for them to put me on that show. But then I'll have the 1 fight left, and I think like that for the sales pitch or whatever like that, they'll put me on the Challenger series, I'll win the contract and then I'm getting me chance. It's the big sell, the big draw, the chance that Shirley's winner goes in and fights in the season. You know what I mean? So that's what I kind of have in my head. So let's see if it happens or not. You know what I mean? Regardless, I want to fight in the $1 million tournament next year anyway. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'll be 10 fight win streak. I'll have 12 fights, like 12 fights like behind me altogether, and I just think it'll give me. I'll be in a position basically where I have enough experience, enough stature behind myself to go in and try make a name for myself in that and win $1 million and become a world champion.
100%. We're going to bring in the man of the hour here now, Nathan. And,
here we go.
A fella that you thought was afraid to come on and speak with you. Late.
Two become three. The Auld Triangle's back.
Late to the party. Barra. Explain yourself.
So sorry.
This is twice you've done this to Nathan Kelly now, Caoilte.
Lads, it's only happened like twice, and it's always been.
No. Hang on now, Nate. What do you think about this?
Oh fuck.
Yeah,
I'm quite unhappy, Caoilte. I'm quite unhappy. The feelings, whatever feelings I have inside this little heart, they're all hurt now. Yeah.
I apologise. It's terrible. Blame the limb.
He needs a training partner for the next couple of days, Caoilte, if you want to go over for a few rounds.
I'm in Dublin there tomorrow, and no, don't kill me.
You're killed, bro. You're killed.
You can blame the Limerick traffic. It's terrible down here.
You made the decision, Nathan, to travel over to Thailand there just to kind of immerse yourself in some training. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Popular place now for fighters to head over there. It's a good spot. It's a great training kind of atmosphere over there and kind of a scene over there as well. What was your decision to kind of go over there?
My decision to go over was literally I wanted to I wanted to keep on the ball and go train, and I always wanted to go over anyway just to experience it, but I think it was just to keep things fresh, you know what I mean? You come off a fight, you win. I took a few weeks to chill and relax, and then I was like, right, I want to get back on training, and I kind of had a half idea of be fighting in August, so I thought it'd be nice to get over and do like a pre-season style thing over there, you know what I mean, and get out of Ireland, no distractions that wouldn't be around distractions, and it's just over there and focused in the zone. So me and Darragh Kelly were talking about going, and it was literally like, let's say it was like 2 weeks before we fucking went, we booked it. We just said, will we go on this date? And we're like, yeah. So we decided to go over, but I just kind of wanted to go over to experience it. We heard the facilities are very good and all that jazz, so I wanted to go over, experience it, learn a bit from the toys, and I kind of have like a little holiday as well, you know what I mean? Like in the sense that, like, even though like Darragh had a fight coming up, so we are still I was in a training camp with him per se, just to be a good training partner and stuff like that. But it's just nice to like go over and see somewhere new and keep everything fresh, learn from new, like get new like techniques and buzz off new people and create a new network of people who you meet along the way, you know what I mean? And I've met a lot of nice people over there, and they said I'm more than welcome back anytime I want, and they'll look after me a bit more as well, like that, with fees and stuff like that if I was struggling and stuff like that. So they're all cool over there. Alex Scholl is the jiu-jitsu coach. I got on great with him, so he said he'd look after me, and I did a bit of coaching over there as well. I kind of helped him out because I got a few niggles when I was over there. Done my LCL and I done my neck. I was actually just a walking injury over there. Snakes in my room, fucking bike crashes, everything that bad that can happen to you.
Hey, did you get bitten by one?
Nah, it was in my air conditioning, and so it was actually mental, right? I don't know what it was, just intuition or whatever it was, right? So I had the aircon off and I was in my room and I was just shadow boxing and just getting a little sweat on, because when you have the aircon off, the room is fucking boiling. So I was like, right, I'll get a little sweat going, blah, blah, blah. Sitting there, I think it was about half an hour I was doing shadow boxing in the room. And then I was sweating. I was like, right, boom, turned on the aircon, sat on my bed. The breeze came out. But when the breeze came out, it was like an entity or God or whatever it was just said, mate, look behind you. And I was just sitting there and I went, look behind myself like that, and there's the fucking snake coming out of my aircon onto me curtain pole. And I was like, I literally, you want to hear the screams of me? I sprinted across the room like a little bitch I did, and then I went down to the people who work, because it was just in a little apartment on a complex where that has like a garage and stuff like that, like car wash and stuff like that. And I went down to them, and I was like, because they don't really speak English, they're not even Thai, they're from somewhere else, speak very bad English, and I was like, snake in my room, snake, and they're like, what? And I'm like, snake, and they're like, no. I was like, a fucking snake. I was like, come on up and I'll show you the bleeding snake, like, it's fucking snake in your room. And he's like, I was like, yeah, it's. I was like, come on up, and he comes up, he comes up to my room, and he looks at he's seen it, he's like, oh, and he didn't know what to do, because it was actually like the landlord actually got on to me then after, and he was like, where we're staying, it's very, very rare that you'd see a snake. Like, the chances of it are literally fucking borderline impossible. It's more up in the mountains and shit where you'd see them, and kind of further up, like we were kind of low near the beach. So he's like, the chances of seeing a snake are so slim. And he was like, so like the staff didn't know how to deal with it. You know what I mean? And I was like, what the fuck? So I was like, yeah, I should at the very back of the room. I was like, yeah, you was going up there to the snake or whatever. But
you didn't take charge, Nate, no?
No way, fuck that. I don't, that's their job. They're the
didn't want to get caught in an anaconda choke.
I ended up getting bit by that thing, and then I'll never come back to Thailand ever again. So your man goes up with like a stick, and he was like banging the curtain pole, and then the fucking snake went back up into the aircon. I went up around the back, so it came out of the aircon vent, and then I crawled up the top of it, and then crawled back down into it. And I was like, what the fuck? So they were like spraying fucking like bug spray and all in there to try to get it out and whatever like that, but it never came back out. They were poking up into the aircon with the stick, but nothing, it wasn't coming out. We were blasting the jets and stuff like that, but obviously there's the air duct out the back. It came in the air duct out the back, and obviously it was a bit cooler in there because they like the cold, I think, the snake. So like it came in, and but obviously it went back out. I got basically the next day. There was like
hang on. Did you stay there that night then?
I actually, no, they gave me another room, but like I was chilling it, like until I stayed in the other room. I was just staying in my room the whole day. I was like, if it comes back out, I'll call you, but if not, I won't. Do you know what I mean? But then I was like, do I want to stay in the room with the snake? I was like, nah, I'll stay in the other room. So, but even the sleep I had in the other room, I didn't have a good sleep because I just felt I was used to that room being my room, and I felt out of place. But the aircon crew were coming the next day to install aircon in the room across from me, and they pulled it apart and had a look, and it was gone at that point, thankfully. So, but yeah, that was a close experience. I had a few mad experiences as well. One of the toy lads tried to scam me of a 1,000 baht, which is about 25 quid, saying I crashed into his car when I didn't. And then
is this on the moped?
Yeah, on the moped. Yeah, and then there's another.
The mopeds are nothing but trouble over there.
They're always
like in fairness, I let the bike fall. Like I tried to like kind of fell out of my hand, and when he heard my bike hitting the ground, and he runs out, and he's like, you hit my car, and I was like, no, I fucking didn't, you mad thing. And then I went to bleed and blow off, you know what I mean? And he whips the key out of the ignition, the little bastard, and I was like, what? I was looking at that, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And he's like, I got police, and blah, blah. And I was going, oh, here we fucking go. And then he was like, you hit my car. Me and Dad, he didn't even understand this, I wouldn't say. Me and Dad were roaring in his face going, you're a fucking arsehole, you're fucking this, and you're a fucking wanker, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like, this guy's going to ask me if to give him about 150 quid or something, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm fucked here. And then I just looked at him, I goes, before I even finished saying how much, I goes, how much? And he goes, 1,000 baht. And I was like, oh, you warm, you little bastard. But then I was like, right, it's only about 20 quid. I was like, just take it and let this situation be over with. So I fucking, that was one incident with the bike. And then like a few days later, me and Dara parked up outside some restaurant we were going to, and sitting there eating our dinner and blah, blah, blah. And then next of all here's boom. And I was sitting there eating, and everyone gets up and is looking. And me and Dara just kept eating or whatever. And I was facing the exit where, like, I was looking at that. Dara was facing me, and I was facing the exit where everyone was going over there. We just kept eating away, and I was like, why aren't any of them doing anything? Why are they all just looking and no one's doing anything as if they're concerned? You know what I mean? And then I was like, took a few more bites of my meal, still no one did that. And then I was like, I think that's my bike, man. I was like, why do I think that's my bike? I went outside because what made me lead to believe it was my bike. Where this restaurant was at the end of the beach, and the road goes onto the beach, and I just seen this big black SUV do a U-turn on the beach to come back up the road. And I was like, huh, right. So I went down, look, there's my bike on the deck. Yeah, I want some drunk toy board. She worked for the government and all that jazz. We had like a government official badge on our bonnet. And I was like, oh my bike is on the ground. And another fella's bike on the ground who was there as well. She smashed into 2 of our bikes. She was drunk. So basically, thankfully, the toy people who work in the restaurant, they were actually like decent people. There was these 2 young girls, and they blocked her. They put their arms out on the road to stop her from blowing off and driving off. So they pulled up their car and blocked the whole road off. In fairness to them, they're legends. And the dad who owned and all, he was talking to me, trying to calm me down. He was talking to her and toying, but she was going bananas. She was like screaming and blah 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 and this and that. And she was on the phone, and then she's calling this person, calling that person. And then I was like, right, this is my bike. And she's basically saying to me, you come with me to my house, I'll show you where I live, and then you tell your bike crew who we got the bike off to come there tomorrow and blah blah blah. And she said, she's like saying this to me, and she's like, oh, panicked and flustered, and I just goes, no. And then she's like, blah, blah. She just fucking lost it. And I was like, oh, here we go. And then I was like, look, you ring my, I'm doing the accent. I was like, you ring my bike man, you ring my bike man, and blah, blah, blah. So she ended up getting through to him. Because I didn't have like the fucking service or anything to ring or whatever like that. And the restaurant owner rang for me, in fairness, and explained the situation. Then they came down, gave me the bike. I ended up sorting out a deal with them to pay for whatever damages. Like, it was fairly smashed up, in fairness. So then they gave me a new bike. Then 2 days later, my bike's parked outside my apartment. There's some fella with a van doing some renovations in the new apartments that they built across the way. And what did you do? You reverse this into my bike. And broke the fucking the mud guard and the mirror and scraped the paint and all. So I had to ring the fella again. I was like, do you remember the Irish guy who got his bike crashed into there the other day? And he's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, it's me again, man. Someone's had to crash into this one again. And he was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So he was actually laughing about it, you know what I mean? I'd say he charged them even more than what the damage was even worth, you know what I mean? But he came down again and fucking sorted it out, and I drove that bike until I gave it back. And I had a few with a little, like, me letting the bike fall here and there. And there's a few more scratches on it than I wanted. And
you start kicking your bike down the road, being like, "Oh, jeez, they're after crashing into me again."
Yeah. You're crashing again.
Oh, the twin mirror was gone from that one as well.
Try and get the 1,000 baht off somebody else that you lost to your man.
That's it. But there was like a few more scratches then after that, and then when I was giving the bike back at the end of the month, he was like scanning every nook and crevice and all, and I was looking at that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay a few quick, because I was literally like near the end of my money that I had. I literally spent nearly all my money over there, and I was like, oh, the last thing I want is this cunt to say, oh, that's a scratch that wasn't there before or whatever. But thankfully that didn't happen. You know what I mean? But mad old experiences over there. Some spot though, honestly is.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy spot. Like, I was literally going to ask you, do you have any mad stories? And you just delivered 2 or 3 class ones there. It feels like it could be a podcast in its own right. Like Thailand Tales with Nathan Kelly or something like that.
Tip of the iceberg. I swear to God, the massage people, the girls who work in their massage parlors, they're fucking mental. They are. They'd be like dragging it in, trying to drag you in to fucking give you a happy ending, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? They're mad to get you in. But you'd be walking down the road and you're literally like, I was like, will you fucking stop? I was like squaring up to them and I was like, will you fucking stop pulling out of me? I'm at the just melting my head now. Like, and they're like, oh, hello, oh, yeah, I know all this shit. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then the two decent-ish looking Irish guys now, it's indecent nick, tops off, and they're just like vultures straight over to you. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, here we go. Everywhere you went, but I would definitely go back again in the future, 100%.
Here's 10 minutes of absolute horror stories. Oh, jeez, great spot.
Definitely go back again.
The food, though, brilliant food.
The food is class, though. The food's class. We're eating out every single day, like lords. You know what I mean? I was like 78 kilos flat for the whole fucking trip. You know what I mean? Didn't lose anyway. I thought I was going to go over and lose loads of weight because the heat and blah, blah, blah. But we are eating like 6 meals a day and 6 good, decent meals, you know what I mean? So we were well fed anyway, to say the least.
Nate, away from the mad Thailand stories, one thing I want to ask you is about your old coach from Caoilte, Barry Oglesby. I hope I didn't butcher his name there, but how do you still go down and train there? And I guess how important has he been for your career up until this point as well?
Yeah, I actually coach here on Fridays. I coach the kids, and then after the kids, I coach the mixed level no-gi adults. That's my time on a Friday. That's my slot basically. So I'm always here anyway. Sometimes I pop up as well during the week. Sometimes I'll train in the gi, and sometimes I'll do the no-gi class, that competition no-gi class, depending on what my schedule is. But he'd be a big part to play in my success story, being honest, because when I was going through the rough times, like he'd be the one that would sit down with me and kind of go through my wrongdoings or the things that like I was very open and honest with him. You know what I mean? That's the one thing I'd say. He's like me fucking therapist in a way. You know what I mean? But he knows me since I'm 13, so I have a very close bond with him. He let me basically train here for nothing. Like I was rocking up to the gym when I was 13. My mum and dad wouldn't necessarily been able to afford to pay, and I wasn't paying, but I just kept rocking up, and he just saw obviously that right, this kid is obviously coming here for a reason because he's bet into this, and he obviously saw the drive I had and all that jazz because I'd never missed training, and I remember when I was 13, I joined this gym, and obviously it's gone against teenagers my own age and size. We're in like a group, and we did like a king and a mat where there was like a circle, and we had to like sumo wrestle out or take them down or throw them out of the circle. And I was beating everyone, and I got fucked up to like the 16, 17, 18-year-olds. I was like 42 kilos and 5'2", and I went up there. So I think then he was like, right, this kid has something, you know what I mean? And then obviously just over the years, he obviously would have guided me in the right direction. He obviously knew a lot more about my personal life on a personal level, because I was so honest with him, and he understood my background. So he obviously kept a little bit of more attention on me just to make sure that I didn't wander down the wrong road or whatever like that, because he was a good role model for me, and he obviously knew that he had a big part to play in potentially me being successful. So Jordan Cole at that time, he was kind of guiding me in the right path, because I was telling him I was struggling with me head, and I was like him and hawing about going back fighting MMA and blah blah blah, and you know he just give me the words of wisdom in my ear that maybe someone from Finglas, say, who's maybe doesn't understand what it takes to get in this sport, and doesn't understand this sport a bit more than the next guy, because obviously he knew my potential. So it's about him guiding me in a way, or giving me the right advice to make me see things for how they were, not how I thought they were, and then giving me the power in myself to ultimately run with the advice he's been giving me. So he's a big part to play in me growth as a person to this day. I feel like I've learned most of my life lessons from the man, because of his open and honesty with me. But he's a big part to play in why I'm here today, and very grateful to have him in my life. He's just a good person to have in your corner and to have in your circle. And ultimately, he's like I said, he's a big part to play in me becoming the man I am today. Yeah.
Powerful stuff. And, you know, Barry's been around on the scene for many a year as well. And, you know, it's great. You see him tweeting every time you're fighting. You can tell that, you know, he's going on this journey with you as well. And it's great to have somebody like that in your life, like you said, Nathan. Before we let you go, I wish I could probably stay here and talk about Thailand stories all day, but we won't keep you all day for that. But let's talk about the fight ahead. Next weekend, Damian Nelson, Madison Square Garden. Anyone who's tuning in, what can they expect to see? What kind of a performance are you looking to deliver there next weekend?
Yeah, I'm looking to get out and just really show me level. You know what I mean? I feel like he is tidy. He's more of a kickboxer than a grappler. He kind of likes to hit and move, but he doesn't really like to fight at a pace that's kind of like tire him out. He kind of likes to, I'd say he likes to just be a little bit over an aggressive spar, like just a little bit. He doesn't like to overcommit to his punches. If anything, I think he undercommits to some of his punches, because he just likes to be like poppy and stuff like that. So I think there's going to be openings for me there to counter him and really, really hurt him. And then from there, it's just about how I basically capitalise on what he does from there. So if I really hurt him and like finish him on the feet, all well and good. But you know, if he looks for a way out and he tries to like grapple, as always, it's just, I say every single fight, I'm going to hit him hard to either make him get knocked out or make them want to grapple or close the distance, and then I'll take over in the grappling, because I feel like my grappling is really, really strong. And I feel like the fact that he doesn't really like he tries to keep it standing as much as possible, so maybe he's not as strong as he is on the feet there. So I think my professional kind of manner needs to come into play there and capitalise on his weakness, which I think I will do once I hurt him. You know what I mean? I think the grappling exchange to a takedown and submission, or else ground and pound, or even it's hard for me to say how I'm going to finish him, because I don't know what way he's going to react to what I do. But I feel like there is a finish there based off what I've seen of his skills and some of the tells he has and where his hand positioning is, blocking his face and stuff. Like, he's a tidy kickboxer, he moves well, but I just feel like I just have more venom in me. I just feel like I'm coming to spark the motherfucker out, you know what I mean? I'm coming there to really, really hurt him, and I think he'll be happy to tap away for 3 rounds, maybe get a lucky finish if he can, whereas I'm coming to finish him, you know what I mean? I'm proper coming to really hurt him and show that my skill level is well above his, and I don't want to even let my skill level, I don't want to give him too much respect that I'm actually letting him play into it. I want to just close the distance, put him under pressure, hit him hard early so that he knows that he's in a really, really real fight, more or less, you know what I mean? Because I'm a scrapper at the end of the day. If it comes down to it and it comes down to biting on the gum shield and swinging, there's no better man for it than me, you know what I mean? And I never obviously show that because my performances have been clean, but I'm well capable of doing that, and I feel like that's the type of fight that I'm going to be showing in this one. Obviously, I'm not going to be scrapping too much where it gets messy and like my technique is all out the window and nothing like that. But you know, I feel like I have that grit in me, that boxing style, just getting in, leather him with shots, fucking hurt him and capitalise on him being hurt and ultimately just make sure I get the win. Like, obviously, I want to hunt the finish and all that jazz and all the fame that comes with finishing people. But like, every single fight, I go out to fight 3 rounds, like as if I want to fight as if I'm going to win over 3 rounds. But capitalising on the right time, the right moment, you can get finishes when they're there, and I feel like my instinct to do that is good. So let's just see if I can keep the streak going, keep the 4th round finishes intact, and just go out and get the finish, more or less. But ultimately, get the win. Whatever about finishes, like sometimes I get too drawn on finishes, but I want to get the win. Make sure I get me win show money, because I feel like I'm at a level now where I need to make sure I can still get myself paid. And but yeah, I just want to have fun in there, man. I want to have fun doing it. I want to go in and hit him hard, let all my shots go that I've been working on, like just take it all in, really, you know what I mean, and really enjoy the have the satisfaction of fighting a Madison Square Garden in front of however many thousand people, and really just have fun with it. But yeah, I feel there's a finish inside 2 rounds. Every time I say TKO, submit. Every time I say submission, I TKO. So I'm just gonna say finish, because me Mystic Mac predictions are just shite, basically. So I'm Mystic Sack, ball sack. That's what my predictions are. So I'm gonna just say I'm gonna get the finish inside 2.
Thailand now, or what's the story?
But get the finish inside 2, and if I just feel like he's fighting in front of all his friends and family in Madison Square Garden. This is his chance to sign to PFL and make a name for himself. He's like older than me. He's like has a lot riding on this, whereas I'm in there already. I've fought in the 3 Arena twice. So I understand what it's like to fight in front of a big crowd of 9,000 odd people, all screaming your name, cheering you on. It's tougher than you think. You know what I mean? You think you'd have a handy because you have the hometown advantage, but you know, all them people are coming to watch you, and that does add a little bit of pressure. And I think with my fighting style, when I come out to be aggressive and hurt them, I really do think the occasion will get to him. Because I feel like I rise to the occasion when I'm in these big events, and in an arrogant way, I feel like I deserve to be on these big events because of my skill level, and I will always think that way. So I'm gonna go in and make sure that I'm performing to the best of my ability and set him back from the start, and ultimately make him crumble, drown him, and get the finish.
Lovely stuff, Nathan. We're looking forward to seeing you getting in there. People can watch that fight, I believe, back home on DAZN. Correct me if I'm wrong, lads. It'll be on over on ESPN, ESPN Plus, TSN in the US and Canada over here. So we're on the big stage in Madison Square Garden. go over there and enjoy yourself, Nathan. We're really looking forward to seeing you competing there. If any of your last performances or anything to go by, I'm sure this one will be just as good as well. It's great to see an Irishman on the big stage in the PFL in Madison Square Garden. Friday, August 18th is where you'll see Nathan Kelly take on Damian Nelson for PFL. Thanks for taking the time, Nathan. This was great fun. Love the stories, and we're looking forward to chatting to you again, my man. Take it easy.
Thanks very much, boys. Thanks for having me on. Legends. Always come back to the Auld Triangle. You're three legends, even if Caoilte is always late, but we'll forget about that.
Deserve that one.
Third time lucky. Next time, Nate, I'll be on time.
He has one last go. If he doesn't make the next one, he might be out altogether. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you're taking the spot, Nate.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Andy, boys.
Thanks so much, guys.
I really appreciate it, and you're doing great work for Irish MMA, so it all doesn't go unnoticed. You're doing great stuff as well, so fair play to you, legends.
All right, boys, moving on a little bit, we'll focus on some of the domestic action in Ireland as well. We got a couple of good cards coming up, and the first on tap that we'll talk about is Virtus MMA 2, the second installment of that promotion. On the main event, we have Damien McKenna, who's going to take on Luke Richardson at amateur. Gary Rooney, obviously, who we're going to talk to himself in a couple of minutes' time about his pro debut. He takes on Ryan Taylor in that fight. We've got a 4-man featherweight Grand Prix, and we've got Caoilte Brennan fighting out of Milo Martial Arts as well, close to home. Lots of different fights to go on here, Caoilte. I mean, it's a pretty decent card. Lots of good names on it. The 4-man. Look at me. You sell me a 4-man tournament, and I'm buying that shit up.
One night job too.
One night tournament. Let's go, champ. I love it. But
brilliant.
Lots of action here on the Virtus card, Caoilte, and plenty to take in for anybody who might want to go live, or anyone who I believe this will be available on pay-per-view as well. I'm not quite sure. Don't take my word on that, but we'll see. We'll find out soon. We'll get confirmation on that as well. Just talking out my arse there. Caoilte, talk to me about
Yeah, great card. Look, the one night tournaments as a lot, like that's just it's such a massive selling point where they have these kind of Grand Prix one night, real old school style, which everyone loves. I hope they have alternates as well, because these one night tournaments can come with injuries and stuff like that. But incredible. I love the idea. We haven't seen it in quite a while. Probably couldn't tell you the last time we've seen something like it. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Very kind of creative and taking a different approach. They're promoting our Virtus, which is what I really like about it. Damien McKenna in the main event. We saw the pop that he got from the home crowd last time. I imagine he's going to sell a lot of tickets and be a massive part of that event, and I'd be really excited to see what the atmosphere would be like for his fight. And then how could we forget the man who we're about to speak to as well, Gary Rooney, like one of the best amateurs in Ireland, probably one of the best flyweight amateurs in the world, about to make the move to the pro ranks. I know we have reservations about the opponent, and we would expect Gary to just go through him, but it's the start of his pro career, and that's something that we need to be getting excited about, because this is the beginning of Gary's very long career that's ahead of him in the pro ranks. So yeah, an incredible card. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Gary's debut is the story there. Like, I said flat out to Gary, look, I expect you to go in and beat him, and he disagreed, but the story there is Gary's. Like, I think this is very highly anticipated. Gary Rooney, he's really made a name for himself on the amateur scene, and yeah, like there's people are kind of anticipating big things from him as he moves to pro. This is a great. I think. I like that there are more shows. I like that Virtus are trying something a bit different, to your standard show in the one night tournament. But looking at the tournament itself, you've Kieran Brady from Team Torres. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he beat Jordan Bradshaw, who rated quite highly for the Chaos Bantamweight title on his last fight. He also holds the Clan Wars Bantamweight title after beating Jack Core. Dale Sheridan, he's one of the lads we've been kind of highlighting a couple of times recently, where both himself and Darragh Ward have been on the same cards fighting out of Honey Badger MMA, and he's on this one too. And the interesting one here is that it's Caoilte Brennan from Mayallo, so formerly Team Ryan Kilkenny. He actually has a win over Dale Sheridan, so it could be interesting if they end up fighting each other. There's an opportunity to get one back there. Oisin Keoghan is also supposed to be on this one, but I don't think he's actually
going to make it. I think he's out of the Grand Prix. So I believe I was speaking to the organisers, and they're looking to get a replacement fighter in here. So and then Jess Paolo versus Stephen Cunningham is on the card.
I think
too.
it wouldn't be an Irish regional card if we didn't see Jess Paolo on it. I mean, he's been super active this year. It's brilliant to see, and I mean, he's approaching this year full on ahead of steam as well, taking the tough fights, moving up and down weight classes, and doing exactly as you should be doing as an amateur, in my opinion. Just to highlight maybe one or two other fights, Aaron Brogan takes on Jake Nye. I'm a big fan of Jake Nye myself. We've seen him competing at the Nationals earlier on this year. It's good to see him back in there as well. And lots and lots of fights to talk about. Shea Cleland versus Owen Mass Oliver as well. And very
awards on this card again. The two Honey Badger boys always fighting together, it seems.
We could go on. We could go on for ages, but
and Paddy the Baddie Piggott.
What a name!
I have no idea who this guy is. Whoever you are, Paddy. Fair play.
Legend. Look, a Cage Legacy 19 was announced, and a couple of fights were announced for Saturday, September 30th. I'll just run through them real quickly before we head over to the Gary Rooney interview. Obviously, we have a welterweight title fight between Jack Newman and Reno Flaherty that will take place at Kilmanagh and in Tala. It will take place. We have Jake Nye, who's back in there again against Fubador Fares. That's a great fight for the bantamweight title. Middleweight title goes down with Senna and Coakley versus Brian Manning, another belter.
Banger.
Paddy Moran will take on Carl Byrne at lightweight. Ben Mead takes on Henny Leka at bantamweight as well. We also have Evan Horgan versus Brandon Smith. We have a cracking fight in the women's flyweight division between Ava Cruz and Kaya O'Sullivan as well. But that leads us into, and that's a fantastic fight, lads. It's brilliant. That's a brilliant fight. Really looking forward to it. But in professional flyweight division, Gary Rooney will all things going to plan, obviously, with his Virtus fight, and his debut is set to take on Georgie Moreau, and that's it's great to see him there. So that leads us straight on over. Let's talk to Gary about his Virtus fight, about his Cage Legacy fight, and let's hear from the man himself about his move over to the professional ranks. We'll hand it over to Caoilte for that interview right now.
2 weeks out from his pro debut, Gary Rooney joins us on the Auld Triangle. Gary, what's the crack? How are you getting on?
All good, boys. All good. Thanks for having me.
Big fight coming up. Big decision to turn pro as well. Like, what was the decision behind that? Was it planned all along?
Yeah, or? As we were saying there, there's a bun in the oven, so you need to start getting paid for the year. Take a fight for free.
Did that change the perspective completely, or was it just?
Yeah, it did. I won't lie. Yeah, I was like, all right, fuck it. Alex can have the record. Let one of the other boys be it. I need to focus on this now.
Brilliant. And like, you decided to go on Virtus straight away and then book another fight, like within a month space of, so two fights in space.
A month. Yeah.
What was the decision behind getting them so quick? Is to try and accelerate the career as fast as possible to get paid?
I think Ryan's a tough opponent and George's a tough opponent. Get them both out of the way. You know what I mean? Like start 2-0, 3-0, maybe going into the new year, and it looks good then. You know what I mean? Like 3-0 going into 2024. Oh, I'm not too sure what year it is, to be honest. It could be 2025 going into, but I don't worry too much about the year. But go into next year strong. You know what I mean?
Mm. And I guess with the debut, what do you make of the? Cause I think we all know what Ryan's like. What was the story with getting that fight in the first place? Was there someone else offered, or was it just?
No, just Richie said, "Do you want to go? Look, you're looking to go pro." I said, "Yeah." He said, "All right, leave it with me." He said, "He sent Ryan a text, and you said, yeah." Straight away, you know what I mean? There was no hold on. The second the message was open, he just said, yeah, free balls to him. He doesn't give a fuck. He wants to fight, you know what I mean? He's game ball. And that's a dangerous opponent.
Yeah, we've seen him, I guess, compete cross between the North, the UK, and he's not really had as much success. But with their second one then, I think it's a bit more of a dangerous opponent in Moraru. How do you feel about that one then?
Yeah, it's a good fight as well. Like, he's a tough lad. He has some fancy kicks and some good footwork, and he's game ball, you know. So he's a tough fight. But again, I think I'm the best in the world, not just the country or the UK. I think I am the #1 flyweight in the world. So I think it's time to fucking slowly start to improve with each fight and show the rest of the world that.
Gary, when you're getting yourself prepared moving from amateur over to professional, what kind of things are you now focusing on, maybe for your professional debut, Rad, that you haven't been for your amateur side? I think like a lot of people will say elbows, the introduction of elbows are going to be
nothing, to be honest.
nothing at all.
You wear the pro gloves and you're throwing the elbow pads a few times, but it's fucking hard to hit somebody with an elbow. It's fucking it's difficult enough, and to need them in the head's even harder. But like I've just changed the time of the rounds and changed the gloves and do what I always do. You know, I think my style of game allows for elbows. I don't think I've had to change that. You know what I mean? Same with even like knees to the head. Like I'm not a big, tall, lanky guy. I'm not gonna ever tie clinch someone and jump up and knee them. You know, I'm a small, stocky wrestler with an overhand. You know, like that's what I am, and I'll just continue to bleed and do that. You know, when I take them to the ground, then I'm gonna be looking to use my elbows and elbowing the body and elbowing all the other parts of the body I can use.
100%. Like, go ahead, Caoilte.
When you're preparing for professional, I know people usually tend to be cutting a lot more weight than they would have been in the amateur ranks. Did you prepare for this by trying to put on a bit more size before you start doing the cut?
No, to be honest, man, like I feel like I'm like when I get in there, I feel great. You know what I mean? I faced big guys and I faced smaller guys. I faced tall guys. I faced shorter guys. I've been around the block a few times, lads. You know, it's not my first rodeo, and I don't think anything's been going wrong. So I think stick with what's going right. You know.
Gary, you mentioned there at the start there about like, you know, getting the fights back to back because you're like, well, I got a bun in the oven. So firstly, we said it to you before we started recording, but congratulations on the news. Well, like, did that, so like you're obviously you're going to be a father towards the end of the year. Did that change things mentally for you when you're looking at your career?
Yeah, I guess it does. Know what I mean? Like you're not just doing it for yourself anymore. Like it's easier to get up off the sofa and go to the second session for definitely. You know, it's one of them things. It's when you're in the training room and you're on Mount Bottom, it's like, right, you need to work now. It's not just for you. You need to get up and go. But in the sense of like, it's rushed maybe a little bit of, maybe I just wanted to be lazy and be amateur for as long as possible to try to beat the record just so I could have a bit of bragging rights. But look, what's meant to be a be, you know what I mean? So I just trust the road that I'm on, and this is a new path.
Do you think you would have stayed amateur had the news not come?
Yeah, I would have. I'm a competitive cunt and I would have wanted to be the number one. I would have wanted to have the most fights. Yeah. But to be honest, it's tough. Like, it'll probably be broken soon. Like, realistically, like, it'll probably be someone else will probably take it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the level is coming up a lot. You have the IMMAF youths and stuff. Like, by the time they're looking to go, it's probably going to be, the boys will probably be fighting once a month. You know what I mean? Somebody could probably break that in 2 years after having their first actual amateur fight, you know?
And of course, you're talking about Alexander O'Sullivan's, just for anyone listening who doesn't know, Alexander O'Sullivan's, he's what, 30 fights, I think he had?
41, I think, yeah. As
an amateur. So you had always said that you were coming for that record, but you've retired that goal.
Yeah, I've retired it, yeah, unfortunately. So someone else can pick up the slack, yeah. I don't even think I was number 2, to be honest. I think there's a few. Probably mid-round, probably 5.
There's a lot of lads with a lot of fights now.
I reckon half of CMAC has probably got about exactly. Over 20 fights each.
Trevor only fights once a year. Trevor only picks on smaller guys.
Gary, so just look at. I was just gonna say, so just looking at this fight here against Ryan Taylor. Look, I'll say it straight out. I fully expect you to go in here and get the win. He's 0-6, and he's been finishing in every fight, I think. Do you see it the same way when you're looking at it?
No, bro, to be honest, I don't. I'm going to be straight up. No one wants to be 0-7. Know what I mean? No one wants, every fight, he just says, yeah, he's game ball. Like, I'm looking to go in there and put on a smart performance and finish him. But I think, like, okay, you can look at his record and say 0-7, but he's also faced a lot of good guys and some killers, and he doesn't care. And anybody who doesn't care is a dangerous man.
Big time. Like, it's a good attitude.
Like, I'm not cutting corners, know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking going on the sprints like I would if I was facing Tommy Clark or Adam Game, you know? Like, these top prospects in the UK who people are almost afraid of. Like, I'm treating this guy the exact same, you know? You go to the gym every day. I don't skip a session. I fucking do all the road work. I do the pads. I do the boxing. I do the jiu-jitsu. I do everything, you know? So I'm looking to go in there. And I think when I go in there, it's just one fight. Anybody can be out for 15 minutes, you know? So it doesn't matter if it's him or fucking Demetrius Johnson, you know? I would train the same.
It's a very, very good kind of mindset to have, Gary, going in. And, you know, having listened to some of your interviews with Harry and you're on with Andy before, very impressed by your mindset overall and your mentality and your approach towards mixed martial arts. Is that kind of fed off, you know, coming up with Richie Smullen? A lot of people have known him to be the hardest worker in the gym.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've come up alongside him as well, and I'm sure that you mirror a lot of your preparation and mindset off of Richie's as well.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Like as your nanny says, like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You know, so it's one of them situations. I surround myself with people who I look up to and push me and get the best out of me. You know, and who I want to take parts of their personality and lifestyle and fighting as well, not just in the cage but outside as a person. You know, I try to surround myself with all these people and level up every day, bro. Yeah.
Gary, one thing about you turning pro that excites me, I think, and I think everyone might agree with this, is the crowd you bring to every single event.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Cage Legacy, and I was just sitting there looking around, and Yup the Flats is just ringing around the arena.
Yeah.
What?
It depends on what side of the room you're on.
do you reckon it's gonna amp up even more now that you've gone pro?
100%. Like, look, I was never too pushed on like selling tickets and stuff like that for amateur events. It was always like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. I said, look, mate, I'll just come to fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking you sell the tickets, you know what I mean? But now it's on me, you know what I mean? So I'm looking to fucking put on a good show and get all the boys hyped up, you know? Like, I'm at the being training here. I'm in the area training. It's not like I'm blading anywhere else. I'm in the area. They see me jogging. They see me doing the sprints. They see me doing the walk. So it's good. Like, there's a buzz around it. There's definitely, when I'm walking in the area, it's like, when's the fight? How you doing? I heard you. No, man, it's nice. It's the whole area is behind it.
Becoming a little celebrity around there now.
Yeah, so especially those the younger kids, you know what I mean? It's funny, like, it's good to see. It's very humbling, yeah.
So there'll be buses.
There's a few kids in the block, Riley and Rio. I said to give them a shout out, so they really are. I said they had to go through my whole Instagram page. They're letting get an Instagram now. They're asking me questions from when I was in school and all. It's funny.
That's brilliant. So there'll be busloads going up to Tyrone then in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, there is. There's actually 2 buses going up. Yeah, so there's going to be a few. Yeah.
Gary, one of the really kind of cool things that I saw in the last number of months is the documentary that went out on your dad. I thought it was absolutely incredible. Just like how you seem to have a really, really special relationship. And I know he's mad into his jiu-jitsu now. I saw him down in Paddy's gym not too long ago going in training. You know how important you put up a post not too long ago saying like he's always been in your corner even when he was just throwing on an SVG Ireland top to try and pretend that he knew he was on about. How special is it to have him along with you on the way?
It's mad, boys, to be honest. It is. It's funny, like, it's great, and like he inspires me. Like, when I see him training, you know what I mean? It's like, right, get up and go. You have no excuse. Like, it is. It's like we have tough rounds. Like, he's an awkward bastard, and he'd be smack talk me, you know what I mean? So it'd be funny, like, yeah. But no, it is. It's inspiring him and my man as well as training. Like, it's the whole family. My brother Darren as well. I can't say enough good things. It's 4 of us, you know what I mean? In the gaff killing each other.
Do the two of you still be doing rounds now when you're at home or what?
No, I had to get rid of it a while ago, boys. But for a long time, for maybe 4 years, I got rid of the bed frames, and we just had the mattresses on the mats, and you'd be coming home and you'd be trying drills that didn't work out in training.
Gary, coming into your professional career, obviously you had the goal of competing and beating Alex's record when you're an amateur. The goalpost has shifted now for you. What's your goal or your early goals, or maybe we can talk about your overall goals a little bit later on, but like for the foreseeable future, the next year, the next 2 years, obviously get as many fights on the regional scene as possible. Are we looking to get onto a big show? What's the pathway that you'd like to follow into the professional scene?
For me, the pathway, to be honest, like I guess it's kind of like UFC is obviously the main one, you know. I think like that's the mecca of all, you know. So it's either, for me, the top promotions would be ONE FC, UFC, or PFL, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I like the sounds of the runs, but for me, that's where I'd be happy, you know. If I get into one of them big organizations, I think I can do well, yeah.
100%. And like when you're like looking back at your amateur career right now, I'm not sure whether you've reflected on it too much, but what were the biggest lessons that you learned about yourself as a fighter coming from the amateur game and all the fights that you had?
That mama didn't raise no bitch, bro. Yeah.
True that. True that.
I mean? Like fucking, I've been through some tough spots, and you can easily let the whole moment swallow you up and spit you out and blame it on, oh, the nerves got to me. But I've been there. I fucking was in the stomach of the monster and fucking came back out. You know, like I let the moment swallow me, and you can't. If you try to fight it, you're gone. Like you accept the nerves. You walk out. I have my little ritual. I kiss my tattoo. I touch squeaky, and I go. You know what I mean? So like, I have that. I can be there in the face of adversity. Yeah, that's I guess the biggest lesson. You know, and I've been in some bad spots. It hasn't always been easy. I've fought in some bad spots in my mind, and I've fought through it. You know what I mean? And I've always pushed on. So I guess that would be the biggest learning curve from the amateur, bro. Yeah.
What was the toughest moment in your amateur career?
The toughest moment in my amateur career. I guess it's probably either between going to the World Championships, not the time I medalled, the medal after, the one after was a very close time to after my friend Theo had passed. So I guess that was a moment, you know what I mean? It's probably not in the fight, but it's a tough moment in my amateur career when you talk about it. Like, I fucking went to the funeral and got on the plane the next day to go fight, you know what I mean? So that was definitely a tough moment, but probably physically in a fight, probably Tommy Clark in the triangle, man, or even going into the third round against Adam Game. I'd say those two are up there, you know. Tommy has you locked in the triangle in the first round, and he's known for fucking finishing people in the triangle, and I'm like, oh, bollocks, here we go. And then going in against Adam Game then, who's known for fucking knocking cunts out, you know what I mean? You're third round in, you're bollocks, you're sweaty, and he's coming to take you out. It's 1-on-1, and he knows that. So I guess momentary things, being in the triangle against Tommy Clark and going into the third round against Adam Game, and then outside of it, dealing with Steele's loss, and I'm still dealing with it, but definitely going into that tournament, it was a tough moment, but it shapes me, bro. It shapes me into the man I am today, yeah.
And to leave in your last year as an amateur as well, you know, being rewarded the SBG Amateur Fighter of the Year as well. It's a kind of nice way to kind of set your amateur career in stone, really, and move on to the next one. You must be really happy to get rewarded.
Yeah, the people beforehand who have won are all the people who I look up to, you know what I mean? So it was like I've been in the gym since I'm 14, man. So it's like from 14, I've been looking at these boys get these awards and get these cool belts and have free t-shirts with sponsors on them, and you know what I mean? Like it's funny, like it's good to actually be present in it, you know what I mean? I'm never too head in the clouds, you know what I mean? It's I'm very feet on the floor.
Yeah, and look, you talk about the people that you have looked up to in your time at SBG. Now it's your turn, and I'm sure that the people that you looked up to are there. They're offering you some help and advice. What kind of help and advice?
It is. It's mad. It's a mad feeling, to be honest. Like even like with Caoilte and stuff, and the boys like that. Like it is like again, like they were always like superstars. You know what I mean? Like and now they're here and they're helping you and they're giving you little, and it's like every little detail they give you, it adds up, and I'm like, fuck, okay, you know what I mean? Like it's a good feeling, man. Yeah, I'm not just like a little kid in my match anymore. It's like, or like give him that detail so he can use it in his fights and pass it. You know what I mean? Like, and spread the knowledge.
I think that's one of the really 100%. Cool things that we've seen. Like I remember Paddy Hoolan always talking about that he wanted to have like Richie and other people in his corner and things. And I saw you went over to the US with Richie and did his corner in Bellator. Yeah. Like, do you feel like those experiences like kind of set you up well for, you know, that you haven't been and fought in these shows yet, but you've experienced the atmosphere, the backstage.
Yeah. And if you listen back to other interviews I've done, I've also referenced that to my amateur career as well. You know what I mean? Like I was in the background for probably like Lee's Cage Legacy debut. So I hadn't even fought yet, but I was in the background, and you feel the buzz go from the tension. You know what I mean? Okay, it's a buzz at the start, and then when the first fighter's getting ready to go, okay, the messing stops, and feeling it in the air, and even getting my hands wrapped for the K1 fight before I fought MMA, and being in the bullpen area and jiu-jitsu. And I think all those little things really add up, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And just looking ahead, so you know, Ian was asking you there about what you're looking at long term. We're talking about UFC and ONE FC, etc. But you mentioned you've gone pro now, and now is money a motivator? Like, are you when you're looking at your next couple of years, you're thinking, right, I need to fight to provide here, or does that go through your mind?
Yes and no. So it's I guess a juxtaposition. You know what I mean? Like if you're fighting for money, then you won't be motivated to train. What I want to be is I want to show fuck the world. I guess it's myself. I want to prove to myself that I'm the best. I see all these people and they say, I don't know, maybe it's big-headed of me, but I watch the UFC and I say, Jays, I'll do something a bit better there. Maybe I'll do this, and I wonder how that would go. And like when I see flyweights fighting in any organisation, I think like, okay, I think I'd be able to handle these guys, you know. So it's a juxtaposition. Like, of course, you're not fucking. I would though. Like, it's one of them things. If somebody said, "Here, do you want to fight Henry Cejudo or Mighty Mouse now?" I'd say, "Yeah, of course." Do you want to do it for free? Yeah, I probably would. But as well, you also need to get paid. So it's a hard question to answer. I guess every fighter wants to fight for honor and legacy, but you also don't do it for free. That's why you're a professional. You know what I mean? So it's one of them things. But I think I'm worth it. You know, I think a lot of times fighters don't believe their own self-worth. I believe that I'm worth all this money that I'm gonna fucking make. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna bring in. Like I am it. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking for a pillar of the community, I don't say it often, but I think I am it. You know.
Is it a lot of extra kind of, not pressure? Pressure is the wrong word, but you know that responsibility of being, you know, representing the flats and having a positive impact in your area.
Bro. Throw every flats in Dublin on, bro. I'm well able. Back's well big enough, bro.
Love it. And now you can bring it on to the big stage now as well when you're going pro as well. Yeah, it must mean a hell of a lot to you for you to be able to do that, Gary.
Yeah, like it's great. Like it's kind of like, boys, I've envisioned this since I'm 15, 14. Like the boys flying over to MSG to fucking watch me win a UFC belt. You know what I mean? Like that's always been the dream. You know what I mean? I've shook hands since I'm 16, saying, right, in the future, I'll buy you this cap if you help me now. You know what I mean? Me and Reds will have a side bet on, and he'll be living in Cali and I'll be living around the block. You know, he's banking on that.
Who's that, Paul Redmond?
Nah, Reds and my friend around the block.
Oh,
you know
sorry.
I mean? Me and him have a little side bet. You know what I mean?
Gary, do you think the timing for going pro has actually worked out quite well for you, given how Irish MMA is like booming at the moment?
Yeah, it actually has, to be honest. Like I'm really looking forward to it, and I believe as well, like another reason to get the fights in close is if the UFC come knocking and I'm fucking 5 or 6 an hour, like that's played and it's a nice little fight. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. We need to fill the card up. Fuck, I throw a flyweight on it. You know what I mean? There's not too many Irish flyweights out there, you know.
So you're looking at when you say if the UFC come rolling around, are you thinking like if they come back next year? That's what you're.
Man, I'm ready. I'm ready now.
That's pretty good. That's getting me excited here now. So you're gonna try and just rack up all the fights then. Yeah.
Like I believe, like, okay, there's a few out there, man. I fucking fought the top level amateurs, and the top level amateurs and pros, there's no difference.
So how do you get to there? Is it just a case of fights? Does the shows matter?
It's a case of winning. To be like, at the end of the day, you don't lift the fucking, back to the football, you don't win the Premier League without winning. You don't lift the trophy. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's a 1-0 game or if it's a 0-0 game. It's fucking, you win.
$100%. Caoilte, do you want to wrap her up?
No problem at all. So Gary, any final thoughts ahead? What can we expect from you for the next, I guess, few months as you go pro before?
A lot of jock sniffing, a lot of fucking slagging myself on social media presences, I guess. And no, just same old, boys. Into like if you're on the train, you're on the train. You know what I mean? Like if you get who I am as a person, drop a following if you like. You know what I mean? Like that. But for the next few months, like expect big things coming. Yeah, big things coming from the flats.
Are you gonna wear the fuck Craig Jones shorts again?
Maybe. I was only thinking there the other day. I got a nice octopus guard sweep and I was in the blade and Sakuraba shorts. I was snapping, but the leopard prints looks good.
I love it.
Gary, one more for me. You're finishing your amateur career as the #1 flyweight in the UK and Ireland.
Yeah.
But you come across very knowledgeable about the other flyweights out there. Are you, like, when you're talking about your previous opponents, and obviously you've been in there and fought them, but what they brought into the fight, you knew it inside out. When you're looking across the divisions now, because back in the day there was no flyweights around. People had to go up weight. Now there's flyweights aplenty. Are there names out there that you're thinking, I want to take them out en route to the UFC?
Yeah, 100% there is, yeah.
Who are they?
Oh yeah, Sev, you don't get that info for free, brother.
Fair enough.
Thank you for the interviews, and maybe I'll start to bring in the promotion.
Fair enough, Gary. Fair enough.
Brilliant.
Maybe we'll get a couple of names off you next time you come on, Gary, after you pick up the 2 wins.
I'll drop a few name bombs.
No bothers. Gary, thanks so much for taking the time. We're really excited. We're delighted to get you on, just to kind of spotlight your move over to the professional ranks. Obviously, after a very exciting amateur career, we're really excited to see you get down to action over the next couple of weeks and months as well. Virtus 2, you'll be on that card, and then following that it'll be a Cage Legacy bout. Really excited to see you in action, Gary. Wish you all the best getting things kicked off in your professional career, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime down the line.
Thanks very much, boys. As always, I appreciate you having me on and helping share the growth of Irish MMA and everything else, boys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.
Appreciate you, Gary. Thanks so much.
Have a good one, boys.
All right, guys, a couple of other things that we will talk about here before we wrap it up. Obviously, I mentioned Cage Legacy 30, and it was great to hear from Gary about his thoughts on that, and credit to the lads there. Great to see Cage Legacy back and putting together some fantastic fights as well. Akumia Fighting Championships, Caoilte, is coming up and around the corner as well. Break us through that card, or break it down for us. Any major names, or a lot of amateur fights on here? Anyone that you're really looking forward to seeing on the card?
It's good to see. Well, first off, it's good to see Akuma back. I think their last event was a long time ago, so good to see them back. A lot of amateurs, a few good fights. There's a good amateur bantamweight fight. I see Emer Darcy's back, and she'll be fighting against Dolores Gallagher. One to keep an eye on. Cormac Burns is fighting an amateur featherweight fight against Kieran Bush. Cormac Burns has been doing very well recently. And one that really stands out for me is a heavyweight title. We all love heavyweights, so they always have to be highlighted. Trevor McKengo, who's actually, I think he's the champion for Akuma, so he's taking on Dennis Perry of SPG Strabane. So CMAC versus SPG Strabane in that fight, and a fantastic heavyweight fight. Two lads that are probably two of the best heavyweights in Ireland.
Dennis has moved up then, because he had fought at various
light,
right. Yeah.
I thought he was like heavyweight for a while.
Yeah. Interesting. Looking at that is a really good card. Matthew Friel versus Damien McGuigan on that card as well.
That's the one. We go all the way down from heavyweights to flyweight. That's the one right there. Don't miss that fight.
That's going to be a belter of a fight, and you will be able to kind of go and watch that. That event does take place August 27th. And definitely check that out. I'm looking forward to a couple of fights on that. Hopefully we'll get the chance to watch that as well. But we will see. We'll report on that as the fight happens. And the big news for Team KF, another professional fighter coming onto the scene for that team, and Dom Norcus. Not one fight announcement, but two fight announcements for Dom, who is the latest prospect coming from Chris Fields and Tom King's gym. I know Chris is very high on Dom. We've seen him competing a couple of times on amateur, and are very excited for his introduction into the professional ranks as well. He'll go against David Cazala on September 9th in Battle Arena over in the UK, and then goes in again on October 21st for Satius MMA.
I've never seen this one before. But yeah, he's fighting. So I imagine this is probably a contingency plan, because he seems to have fights that have been falling out as of late, where he's already supposed to have made his pro debut about 2 or 3 times, I think, at this point. But for those who've been kind of following him, he kind of broke onto the Irish scene very, very quickly. At about 8 fights in 6 months or something, and he hasn't fought since December. But yeah, he's only 19 years old, going pro, so a rapid ascent, and he's fighting. I think David Calsa is his first fight, and people who've been around or have been watching Irish MMA a while would remember his name. I think he submitted Cian Caoilte back in the Bama days, and then he lost to Dylan Tuke. So I think he's a patchy enough record, but he's fought some really solid competition. As a win over Cian Caoilte. So straight in there in his pro debut, and be interesting to see.
And kind of following the lead maybe with his amateur career, not like I said, not one but 2 fights announced. I mean, that's the trend now. Gary has announced 2 fights that we talked about. And we're not announcing just singular fights anymore, lads. We're announcing double sets of fights.
Which we're seeing all the amateurs these days. We mentioned Jake Nye there. He's got, they're all planning ahead.
They're all planning ahead. And look, to stick with Team KF, Ryan Shelley has had a fight confirmed for the Cage Warriors Dublin card. He'll take on Jordi Bacchus. 5-2-1. Jordy comes into that fight, but great to see Ryan back in there. Obviously, he will be looking to get back into the win column after his first professional defeat to Tobias Harilla. Very excited to see Ryan back in there and back in action, and I'm sure that we'll get another kind of plethora of Irish fighters and Team KF fighters as well that will be announced. I'd expect Taka to be announced on that card. Probably we'll be looking at Leon again. Maybe Andy, you're in there. You've been talking to the lads as well, and chat to Chris a good bit as well. I'm sure the aim is maybe some, if not all, of the Team KF members, but the Cage Warriors.
I think there's a split. I think some of them are going to go on the. I can't remember, to be honest offhand, but I think some are going for the Manchester card and some of them are going for the Dublin one. But it's like for Team KF, for Team Rhino, for FAI, this is a really important kind of a year or less than a year even now on the Cage Warrior scene. They're typically the gyms that we see there, because if we do get a UFC Dublin show, like this, now is the time to start making those waves. So obviously, you mentioned Ryan Shelley there coming off a loss, but if he strings together a couple of wins here, he could easily be putting himself forward in that crop of names to be considered when the UFC come calling. So there's some brilliant opportunities for lads on this Cage Warriors Dublin show, and I can't wait to see what other matchups we get, because now is essentially like the lead up to potentially another Irish UFC show. So the time is now to make your mark.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely is. And look at with Reese and Caoilte and a couple of others going over to UFC. Obviously, the talks of Paul Hughes as well. He put his name into the hat for the Nasrat Hakparast fight as well. A big kind of I probably should
Nasrat Hakparast.
Nasrat Hakparast. Wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't butcher at least one name anyway. But yeah, look, that's a conversation maybe we'll have in a few minutes. But I guess what I'll bring to you, Caoilte, is who do we see, or how do we see that card shape now? Who do we see maybe headlining that card? Or what would you like to see, or who would you like to see headlining the card? Because with Reese was the mainstay. Obviously, Caoilte would have been a good one. Obviously, 2 of those are competing in UFC Paris, so it kind of leaves a little bit of an avenue and a gateway for maybe someone to come in here. And there's a couple of vacant titles now. We've got a vacant lightweight title, we've got a vacant welterweight title. I mean, the options are really open and out there right now.
Tell you what, you caught me on the hop with that one. There's a few different names, and it'd be interesting to see if it's even one of the Irish fighters headlining. I would imagine, I would assume it would be, but there's a few options. Leon Hill could be in with a shout. He's, after his last performance, I would not be surprised whatsoever. You could also have maybe James Sheehan. I know he's coming off a loss, but very, very possible one as well. They'd be the 2 I'd have in my head for now. I could be forgetting 1 or 2, but they'd be the ones I have at the moment. Maybe you guys would have some other names that I'm forgetting.
I think there's plenty of names there, but it's just that we're in kind of weird kind of situational scenarios with some fighters where some are, obviously James coming back off his last defeat with Oban Elliott with James Sheehan. If he had won that fight, he would almost have been a shoo-in probably to headline this for the welterweight title. Look, he'll be looking to come back, and his fight will be a big fight nonetheless, whether it's a title fight or not. With Leon Hill, it's like, you could put him in there in a title shot, but maybe you'd like to see him compete once more at the very least. Before he gets that. But here, I'm not going to fucking argue if they give it to him either at the end of the day. But it's kind of a weird scenario right now that we're dealing with in the kind of a transitional phase, Andy, really, isn't it? Anyone that's sticking out to you?
So, to be honest, there's nobody really sticking out to me other than I hope it's not Paul Hughes. But like, I mean, I guess, I don't know, like, I just don't want to entertain that still. I'm kind of living in hope that it'll be signed.
Yeah, I don't even want to entertain that.
While he's a Cage Warriors fighter, he's the only standout in my opinion. But apart from that, I guess, Leon Hill, like you could make maybe like, I don't know, if you had like an Omra, I don't know, like there's no one really that like is like the stand out, this person will headline. So it's kind of there for the taking, I suppose.
Yeah, look at that's it. It's like it'll be very interesting to see. Look at if there's any person that is going to be able to put together a card, and that's Ian Dean. He always does such a fantastic job, and it'll be interesting to see how they'll kind of, maybe there could be a couple of extra signings as well. We never know what may happen. Very interesting to see what does happen, because it's fairly hot commodity as well. So you're going to have to be, look at, obviously this is in the RDS, but in the coming months we're going to have a Bellator show, we're going to have the Cage Warriors show, we have a Katie Taylor fight, and we have the PFL as well. So I mean, like, Dublin is a hotbed for mixed martial arts and combat sports over the next couple of months, and that competition will be high. Hotel prices are expensive. It's not easy to travel up to Dublin each and every time for fans and even for media members and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. And look,
give us Jordan Vucenic versus Harry Hardwick for the featherweight title.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like I'm open to that. I think, you know, you could even put Mason Jones in there for a lightweight title fight against, you know, bring in someone, just do a bit of Ian Dean magic.
Mason Jones, Aggie Sardari.
Yeah, something like that. Like, would be you know, probably we're unfortunate that we're not in a position where maybe someone has created a scenario within Cage Warriors that they're going to be eligible or capable of headlining a show as an Irish guy.
You could, like, you had Ryan Shelley won his last. You could have had him headline for the title here or something, or if James Sheen won, you could have had him. You know,
and that's it. Look at them. Look, we'll mention Paul Hughes. We want him signed to the UFC. Hopefully it happens. We're putting the word out there the best that we can. You know, Andy, you spoke with the can't remember his name now, the UFC representative,
David Shaw.
David Shaw, and, you know, put in a word, and there's a show happening, and that's all. That's the least that we can do. We try to create a bit of hype online, and yeah, it's baffling. One of the biggest mysteries in Irish and in European mixed martial arts right now is what is going on with Paul Hughes. We hope that common sense prevails, that he gets brought in sooner rather than later. But you know, we could talk about that on almost every podcast, but it's definitely worth a mention for this as well. And yeah, it's a big month, lads. Overall, we'll be back again for another episode of the Auld Triangle as this month progresses. Big month this month, and next month is a huge month as well. Lots of stuff going on with PFL Europe coming back into town, Bellator coming into town. It's a real good time and a real busy time for Irish mixed martial arts, and we're very happy to be in a position to talk about it, give people the platform, and share the excitement with the buzz on the scene right now, from the amateur levels to the youths levels that we talked about to the professional levels as well. We'll see you all the next time. Go and follow Andy Stevenson at Andy Stevenson MMA on Twitter, at Caoilte Barra, at O'Neill MMA is where you'll find me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Look after yourselves. We look forward to seeing you the next time.
Don't follow me on Twitter, just go and follow on Spotify the Auld Triangle and give us a 10 million star rating.
There you go, 10 million stars. Yeah. And the same over there. A little review on iTunes as well would go down very well. Just help us spread the word. Help us get us out there. If, you know, someone is going to one of the new Irish shows as a new MMA fan, they want to keep in touch with Irish mixed martial arts, send them our direction. Andy?
And congratulations to Ian O'Neill on becoming a real adult.
Yeah, big boy now. Lots of things happening. Bought a house and became a Canadian citizen in the last 2 weeks since I was last on with you guys. So yeah, it's all happening. Very, very exciting times. Delighted to be able to share the news with you. I was buzzing.
Unfortunately, now that you're Canadian, you're going to have to be kicked off the Auld Triangle. But
that's it, yeah. I'll always be an Irish Canadian.
It was nice knowing you. Like, it was a nice run.
I'll be coming on here now eating poutine and saying sorry and and out of me and whatnot, but look at great things, big things happening in and outside of mixed martial arts for us, and yeah, it's great to be able to share the news with you and everyone else who's listening as well. So
yeah, sorry, I hope you actually wanted to do that, because I just forced it.
No, it's all good. It's too late. Edit that out, Andy. I know, I'm only joking. Everything is set in stone now. It's like, yeah, it's good news, and all is left to do now is for Caoilte to see us out for episode 38 of the Auld Triangle.
Smariscana, Slongafol.